All right, well, welcome everybody to our channel today. We're going to do something a little bit different. We're going to do a portfolio review with Patrick Mulligan. And Patrick is a great photographer. He actually came out and visited Utah a few weeks ago and dropped in on the studio and got the full studio tour. It was really fun having you out here, Patrick.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was a wonderful experience. I really enjoyed it. So,
Yeah, and in fact, if anybody's ever in town and wants to come by and visit, we're happy to host and have people come see us. Um, so what we're going to do today is we're going to do a portfolio review with Patrick and kind of give him some feedback on his portfolio. But before we do that, Patrick, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
yeah, thanks, Jaren. Appreciate it. Yeah, I'm a photographer down here in Tucson, Arizona. I've been shooting for about 6 years now, and my focus is in athletics, with the ultimate goal and dream of kind of being in a role where you guys are at. I currently work at the University of Arizona in the Department of Emergency Medicine, and my long-term goal is to transition out of that, but stay in the university kind of workplace. I enjoy the culture and stuff that universities bring, and kind of work that direction. I currently freelance for the Big 12, and I shoot some for Getty Images as well. And then I own a photography studio down here in Tucson, Arizona called Studio Create. So.
Awesome, awesome. So how did you get into photography? How did you get started?
Yeah, it's kind of a life-changing thing. I never did art or anything growing up. Nothing, never had a creative bone in my body. It was all athletics. And then when I was 30, I picked up a camera to do some video stuff with my daughter. Just thought it would be a good way for her and I to connect. And I slowly started finding stills and absolutely loved it. After that, I kind of just went in down a rabbit hole and loved lighting. I kind of did things backwards. Most photographers pick up a camera and go outside and shoot. Well, I picked it up, and then like a year later, COVID happened. So I just got really into watching videos and learning about lighting. And so I honed a lot of my studio skills before I even went out and did live action work and everything. I actually ended up shooting a lot of like fashion fantasy stuff because my wife is a photographer. I actually met her at a photo shoot, and she does fantasy fashion. So I learned a lot of the lighting techniques, stuff like that. But then I started to really ask myself, what do I like to do with the camera? What will make me passionate, not just, copy her stuff. And then I slowly started going more towards athletics, and I was like, oh my gosh, this can get me back into sports. And yeah, that was kind of the journey. And now I pursue it every single day, trying to make the dream happen we spoke about earlier.
Well, and you're absolutely right. It's the exact opposite of pretty much everybody else. Everybody else starts shooting action and then they kind of transition into lighting. So that's great though, because
Yeah.
I mean that's a skill that is just so needed right now. And marketing, athletic departments at universities, the marketing is taking the prime focus. Uh, Action photos are being used less and less, but marketing on social media is everything.
Well, and understanding lighting too, where you start in the studio, you understand light, how to create light, how to use it, that can transition outside as well to help you recognize the light and shoot better when you see it.
Yeah, 100%. I was really blessed to have the drive during the COVID years, where things weren't really going on, but like the drive to just be educated and watch videos and learn. That I think really helped me set a good foundation for my photography career.
Oh, awesome. Well, I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen. We'll take a look at your portfolio.
Wonderful.
Okay. You guys see that okay?
Yep.
Yep. I see it.
All right. So Patrick, before we dive into it, can you just tell me what is your goal of your portfolio? What is it this going to try to accomplish?
Yeah, so this is kind of my generalized sports photography portfolio. This is what I send to universities when I'm applying for job. Most recently, UConn opened up. I sent one to them. Utah Tech actually as well, on Aaron's recommendation there, and some other things. So really just kind of trying to show my general athletic or skills in the athletic realm, both live action and that commercial marketing look as well.
Well, good. And that's really important that you kind of are kind of directing it at a certain group of individuals. That really helps us understand, what you're putting in. And I think a lot of people maybe are too general in their portfolios, and that's, great for your website. But when you have like this portfolio is to try to get this job, it really changes the direction of your portfolio. So we're just gonna scroll through this, and you made this on the Adobe site.
Correct. Yeah, I have all the Adobe suite through my day job, so I try to utilize the tools I have available to me. So.
So what did you think of the Adobe portfolios?
It has its limitations, but I think from everything I've learned and talked to with photographers, that your portfolio just needs to be 20 of your great images. I've watched your guys' video on it, and very just simple, clean, have very few links, and just right to the point of the images. And so that I kind of thought it did that really well. I also liked the name, the P Mulligan at myportfolio.com. That felt professional to me.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and then it's free with your Adobe stuff. That's the best part, right?
Correct.
It does a great job. Well, and immediately I look at it. It's clean. I love it. I also love, this is just a personal preference. I love black background. I feel like when you have white background, sometimes it makes it harder to see details in some photos. Also, the fact that you have your links right up on top, someone can look at this portfolio. Oh, I want to learn more about him. And you can jump right to the next thing and learn more about you. So, um, and it looks like you have 20 images in here, which I think is about the perfect number.
Yeah, I think I have 21 just because the three on each line, it was
Yeah.
driving me crazy. The bottom one only had two, so.
Okay.
So I think one of the big things, and I've looked through a bunch of different portfolios, you don't want to send your hiring committee on a wild goose chase to find your best stuff. Your best stuff should be right then and there. And if they can click on it on one page, see it all, and don't have to click on another link, you're golden. If you have to search, there's a good chance if someone has to go to a different link, they're going to go to the next application.
Yeah, especially I agree. Like being part of multiple hires all the time, the more work that you have to do, especially when you're going through a lot of candidates, the harder it is. Sometimes, like the reality is sometimes we get lazy just because there's so much. So if it's all right together like that, great.
Like I've done it where I've opened everyone's tabs for their portfolios, and I go through every tab and then I'll exit out if I have to go find something, and it's just quicker. I can narrow it down to these are the 5 candidates I like on their single page that they
Yeah.
have showing.
So what was your approach to the way you ordered your photos, Patrick?
Um, I had a portfolio up here, and I had to take kind of a really hard in-depth look at it, and I just recently did that after, I met you guys. And I put a lot more purpose in it this time. So you'll see that, I started off with what I consider a really banger image, and then I closed it off with that same thing. So I really took a lot of time to look at those first and last image. And then I wanted to show diversity and range as well, in how I approach things, right? You'll see a lot of my work is very contrasty. I like that look in my images. So I kind of went through them, wanted to show a range of images since I'm going for a university job that isn't just a specific sport, right? If I was going for just football, I would put a football portfolio together, but this is trying to encompass, a whole range of athletics. So I wanted to definitely show off that I have the ability to do that in different sports.
Yeah, I definitely see a lot of intentionality in the way you place your photos, and I think that's really important. I think it's really important that when you go from one image to the next, there's a big change. If it's just the same, oh, here's another baseball photo, that repetition just gets old really fast, especially when you're looking through 30 or 40 portfolios in a sitting. I think just paying attention to the experience of those that are looking at your portfolio is really important.
Yeah, the other thing I think that's super helpful is, and it's along those lines, but visual variety, even with like focal lengths, or if it's a wide, medium, or detail shot, having that variety image to image so you don't have like visual fatigue going on, I think is really helpful.
Well, Nate and Aaron, what are your thoughts on just kind of the overall look of and the order of it before we get into individual images?
I really like that first image. It's a good one to launch out the gate real strong, kind of thing. It's real visual. It has some branding from large university. The action's great. It's just kind of a nice commercial kind of feel kind of thing. And I know a lot of other photographers would be envious of this, but even social media and other people would like, wow, that's poster worthy right there, kind of thing.
Yeah. Scroll down again real quick, Jaren.
Can I say another thing about
Yes.
I know you, Patrick, a little bit, and I know like what your access is to sports and stuff. I get a lot of high schoolers and other photographers coming in and they say, "Hey, let me have a sideline pass to the football game." And they just think they need to have this top tier team to get a good portfolio. But I'm pretty sure that lacrosse team and this women's hockey team that we see right here, and I'm maybe this softball girl in the best, those aren't like high top of television teams, but they're very athletic things to photograph. And the thing is, the same sun that shines in that football game is the same sun that shines in that softball game. Great light will be everywhere, kind of thing.
Mhm.
And you've taken advantage of things that you can get access to. Like going to a football game, you're not going to have the access that you would want compared to a club lacrosse team. You're going to get way more access and they're going to be more appreciative. The coach is going to let you into those huddles. They're going to let you do different things that you wouldn't normally get, not being like the university photographer. You've taken advantage of that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had to kind of be creative because I've noticed a lot of people in this realm kind of come right out of college. You know, they did internships and stuff in college. Well, me picking this up, and really I didn't even know I wanted to do sports until probably 33 years old. Well, I'm a father, everything. So I don't have the option to go back to school or do an internship, right? So I had to be very creative about how I find athletes. And I looked up and I saw that a lot of our club teams. So the lacrosse team, the hockey team, those are both club teams here at the university. They don't have a dedicated photographer. And in my mind, I thought to myself, like, those are still really good athletes. They deserve, some good images. And then also the university, right? Like the university appreciates it because now those clubs are having higher and higher branding images, showing off their block A. And then with high school, that's honestly your best access right there. I can almost on baseball, I can get right up behind them, in the batter circle, right? Like the access at high school is just next level.
Yeah, and I think people undervalue that the access that you can get with working with a local high school. You can get incredible access, and if it's a great action shot, I don't care what team it is. It's a great action shot because I know I can take you and I can put you in our stadium, and you're going to get your great shots of our team. So that's great. Nate, any other feedback before we jump into individual images?
I have a question. Do you have like what do you like to do more or want to get hired to do more? Do you prefer more studio? Do you prefer more action? Like what do you love? What do you want to get hired for the most?
Honestly, the reason I want to get into the job is because I love the idea of being a visual historian. So the sideline stuff is where I really feel passionate about, right? Because it's getting to document that moment for that university or for that athlete and get it, etch it into history. But commercial stuff or the studio stuff is just so much fun, right? I watch Aaron all the time get so creative, and I almost like want so badly to have the time, because my full-time day job, I don't have the time to sketch out or have idea sessions and stuff. So I keep a lot of my creative stuff more towards the lighting, right? Maybe some
Mhm.
smoke, stuff like that. Not too many set builds or anything, but I would love to do that. So that's a hard one for me to answer because both of them I'm passionate about, but for different reasons, right? I just like having fun in the studio, and then when I'm on the sidelines, I like telling a story for the athletes and for the school.
Yeah, no, the reason I ask is kind of the ratio of studio or on location lit stuff to live action stuff. So I think there's like 7 or 8 studio lit shots compared to, I'm not going to do math while I'm doing this, even though it's extremely simple. I was an art major, so I can't really think that quick.
Okay.
Um, so I think based off of what you said, I think the ratio is really good. your passion for being a historian, but also showing a good variety of, look, I can do the stuff on the sidelines, in the field, in the arena, but I also have skills with lighting, doing marketing photos, more commercial type work. So I think it's a good ratio.
Yeah, and I think that if you're looking at a specific job opening in this university, you look at their stuff, you research what they're posting, and they're posting more studio stuff, maybe skew your portfolio more that way. Or if they're more interested in more action heavy, maybe you skew it a little bit more that way, but definitely show both sides.
Yeah.
Because somebody that can do great action and great studio work is so valuable and so rare. I love this. I love this here, this juxtaposition, the two black and whites with the color in the middle. That's my favorite line, I think. But like I say, I think you have a good variety of jumping around, to action and to studio work and just a little bit of storytelling. So, um, I think it's a great portfolio. I think you're well set up. We're going to just jump into the images now. Now, Patrick, when we go through these images, just remember we're not the experts. We don't know everything. We think we do sometimes. And when you at the end, I'm going to show you some of Nate's and Aaron's images that are really bad, so that you can remember that they're still learning just like the rest of us.
Well, that's not hard to find either.
Wonderful. Can I ask you guys a question before we
Yeah.
go to the individual? So one of the things I consistently see, and I heard on your portfolio video, which you can link up there or whatever, right? That's what you're supposed to do. Anyways, which image do you think is my worst image? Because that is the one you say that will be judged on. So that's what I'm
Yes.
curious about.
So I'm gonna hold off. I'm gonna hold off on answering to the end.
All
So
right.
I want to go through the images and talk about specifics.
All
I
right.
do have one. I think the other guys have one too. But yes, I'm glad you're willing to ask. And guys, not enough people are willing to ask that question,
Yeah.
right?
Also another thing we talked about a little bit earlier is you had to come through and like, man, you had to pick out who was your favorite children out of your images. And there's some of them that got orphaned.
They
And
did.
so even in that process, it's like narrowing it down to 20 is not the easiest thing sometimes. And to mention kind of one of the things with portfolio video, sometimes we get attached to an image because the process to get there was so difficult and so hard. And man, I have images like that and I take it home to my wife and she's like, it's okay. And I'm like, but it was so hard to get there. And I'm like attached emotionally. And she's like, it's mid at best.
Yeah.
So I'm glad that you were able to sever ties with your children and leave them in the dust. That's kind of how I feel about some of my favorite images.
Yeah, it was a process, that's for sure.
And now, how many different photographers have you had look at your portfolio so far to give you
So
feedback?
this new one, I had actually 5 photographers before this meeting. I also put it in our local Tucson Professional Photographers Facebook group, and I asked for feedback from my local photographers as well. So
And
Well, that's a lot.
and so a question with that is, how consistent was the feedback?
um, actually pretty consistent, which helped me orphan a couple images that I was, I think, more emotionally attached to because again, I was there to experience the story. But really, as this process has gone through and it's been said, the viewer hasn't been there to experience the story, so you need to like transport them in your image. And if it doesn't do that, in one way or in another, whether it's, setting the stage in a wide shot of the stadium to help them know where they're at, or, bringing in a tight emotional shot, like you haven't done the job, right? And so that's where I always look at it, because I'm like, I could love all my images almost, right? But if somebody's not emotionally connected in some way to that image, it's probably got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the one reason I bring that up as well is like Jaren referenced it a little bit earlier, but I feel like we're all so different and we see things differently. And so anytime we do a portfolio review, especially if we just do it with one person, it's great to get feedback from one person, but there's also danger in it too, because we all have biases, right? We all have different experiences. We all see things completely different. So I think the more people like you've done, the more people you can get to look at it, you can see kind of a common thread weaving through. And it's like, well, I may not agree with this, or yeah, I probably should do this better. Like it's all subjective to our personal opinions. And I think anytime any of us go and have a portfolio review or an image review, we've got to keep that in mind. Like what we're saying is not the absolute truth. It's just our experience,
Yeah.
thoughts, background, opinion.
It's always funny because each month I pull together my favorite images, and I have Jaren and Nate pull out like their 4 favorites, and there's always one that they're always different opinions on, and they're always switched. Nate likes one better, and Jaren likes the other one better, and
And then we arm wrestle over it.
and then we are, and then usually Jaren kind of wins because he's been working out so much.
Yeah, let's start telling the truth now. No, I think that it is really important to remember that your portfolio, as much as you love your images, your portfolio is not for you. It's for other people to see. And you have to be aware of how other people are affected by your images, and doing the work of getting other feedback from all that many different photographers is awesome. I love it.
Yep.
Okay, I'm just going to start off. This is one of my favorite images. Tell us about this shot.
So this is actually one of my oldest images in this portfolio. I wanted to do something down at this open lake bed. I didn't know really what I wanted to do, and then I saw some inspiration from James Kwan's, where he did some flag images with, I believe, Navy. And I was like, oh my gosh, how do I apply this? And then I thought about this open lake bed and just them running across in the hot sun, right? It's Arizona desert. So I really wanted to create something for them for, hey, we're University of Arizona lacrosse, come join us kind of thing.
Of that.
Well, guys, give us some feedback on it.
So general feedback, sorry. Initially, love the composition, love the texture in the sky, the moodiness of it, the lighting, where you can't see their face. This image will last a lot longer, right? They can use it forever. Love that he's in stride, the motion to it. A few things feedback wise that I think would help this pop even more is I get distracted by a few things on the ground. So where you can see the tire marks or other stuff like that. Those are things that I would probably try to take out just to help keep my eyes up on the person, on the lacrosse player. And then I would even bring the brightness of the red up in the flag just a little. Maybe the levels of the whites of the uniform up a little. But other than that, like I agree with Jaren, this is one of my favorite images. But I feel like those things are just tiny things that can help eliminate distraction to really focus in right on them.
Awesome.
Well, and your eye is always drawn to the brightest part of the picture. And this is a hard one because you want the sun to be the brightest part, right? But you
Yep.
also want the uniform to be not, it's going to be competing, and that's just how it is. But I do feel like, yeah, if the whites just came up just a bit more, and the flag definitely, I think if the flag popped a little bit more, I'd even like it more.
Got it.
Yeah, and I think if you keep the levels of the sun, like your whites, with the sun and just the on the uniform up around the shoulder and the helmet, it makes and his arm, it makes, I wish I could move the mouse on here, but it makes a really nice circle to keep your eye contained. I think if that's the brightest and the most contrast part of the image, that's where your eye will, I mean, it already is, but even more so will contain right there.
Yeah. Anything to add, Aaron?
Man, you guys said it all. Yeah, I like the moodiness of this, and I think that's what adds to it. Um, and maybe that's the hard part. It's like you had to be out there in this location to get that. This is something you can't create in studio, kind of thing. So you had to go on location. I think that's another valuable thing, on location compared to just in studio stuff.
Yeah.
That's another skill to have. On
I would say being able to light on location is even leveling up just what you can in the studio. It's easy because the light's controlled, but when you have to adjust for ambient, all that kind of stuff, it even levels up what you're talking about.
Yeah, like I'm pretty sure those clouds are moving every now and then there was all of a sudden a big sunbeam came out and changed your exposure right then and there, kind of thing. It wasn't all PGO trying to get your ambient and your flash exposure to match all the time.
And this is probably important. Probably should have said this sooner. When we're reviewing people's images, whether it's our students, whether it's other photographers, the rule for us is we always say what we like about an image and then where there is room for improvement. Because if only you talk about everything's great, you're not going to improve, right? But if we only focus on the negative, sometimes people get discouraged and they can't move forward. So like we try to be very cognizant of the fact that there is always great things about a photo and there's always room for improvement. There's no such thing as a perfect photo. It hasn't happened yet. So
You've
that's
gotten
what
pretty close a couple times, my friend.
no. No. There's a few times I've been shooting in the field and I'm like, I think I have the perfect image, and I come back and I look on the computer and I'm like, oh no. And I think that's good though, because if I took perfect pictures, I'd just have to retire. I couldn't. There's no room to go up from there, right?
Right.
All right, but anyway, this image, absolutely your opener,
Yep.
So
100%.
and I think another good thing, like you can see maybe with the flash duration on the feet, there's a little not as sharp there.
Mhm.
So some photographers are like, oh, I can't do this because my flash is limiting me. It's knowing like what your limitations and working with those kind of things. So like maybe you have to, they don't run as fast and they pose into that pose for the most part. But it looks like your flash is able to keep up with the main parts of the image,
Yep.
kind of thing.
All right. Next is swimmer. What's the story on this one?
Yeah, so this is actually a image that helped me win the best photographer at one of my lighting workshops. It was
Awesome.
at Summit, and I really, worked with a number of photographers there, Matt Hernandez, David Black, a number of people I really like. And we just went out there, had a UCLA swimmer, and I saw this rock and I was like, man, it kind of looks like a starting block. Well, let's try something out. And we just went for it, right? She was great. And I thought it was really unique, right? Because everybody can shoot them on the blocks, or if you have the access, but it just kind of felt different to me.
Yeah, it's a fun image. Guys, what's your feedback?
Again, I like that you're able to balance your daylight, like your ambient exposure with your flash exposure, going on location, finding something unique. Um, the pose is awesome. The lighting is awesome. There's a couple feedbacks that I'd have, like as far as the bottom half of the image, where you can see that water,
Mhm.
it goes pretty dark. And I think I would either like to have like boost the sharpness in it or maybe a little bit of the highlights, just so I can read that that's water quicker
Yeah.
a little bit. So that it just ties in a little bit stronger swimmer water. It's obvious, but you'd be surprised how many people can't get that.
Well, but at a casual glance, and maybe you're looking at it on your phone, you may think, "Oh, that's just dirt or asphalt," right? And that I think that's a good point. If you could bring up the levels a little bit on the water, that'd be cool.
But like one of the first things I think is like man, Iron Man swimmer kind of thing. They're always in weird environments and cool things like that. So like this totally fits, and maybe this is like this girl's hometown. They're like there could be a story here,
Mhm.
kind of thing that we're not seeing that's bigger. I kind of like that.
Um, I I echo the same sentiment. Good job on the lighting, the angle, the balancing of your ambient. Composition wise, there's a couple things again, just super minor. On the right side of the frame, there's that little orphan tree branch coming out.
Mhm.
I'd say get rid of that. I agree with Aaron, brightening up the bottom. And I know this is after the fact, so you can't really change the photo itself, the contents of it. But if there was just a little, I don't know, a little fill underneath to get the reflection in the goggles,
Mm.
so they're not just black, but it's just like a tiny fill. I think that would help with the goggles too.
Patrick, I would have put on the waiters and held the fill card for you.
Love it. Love it. Get wet.
I wouldn't have waited for the waiters. I would have just jumped in. One
It's
up Aaron.
Colorado, man. That water is cold.
It is cold. Yes, it is cold.
Great celebration shot. Uh, so glad you're low. So much baseball I see these days is shot from above, and it's just in the stands. And I just think that the closer you can get the ground level, the better it looks. That's just my personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I love shooting low on baseball.
I think one of the things that helps this is your positioning and where you're backlit, because the water will show up a lot better backlit. and against a darker background. And so I don't know if this was intentional or not. I mean, a lot of times celebration, you can try to anticipate what's going to happen and where you're going to be, but you don't really know where that play is going to happen. So you just do your best to try to position yourself. But I think that that really helps us work out. Good moment, good positioning where according to where the sun is.
So yeah, you can see like where that splash hits on the broadside of that building and then that cove, how much more contrast is because that darker background.
Yeah.
So you like even when that cup's in the water,
Yeah.
it's lucky because most of it's going through that little dark cove, so it has way more contrast to see what's happening. And then even on top of that, the blue warm up jersey helps that water pop out a lot
Yeah.
more too.
Right here. Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, and I would just say as a rule of thumb, always try to shoot backlit. 90% of the time I'm shooting backlit action because it looks better. You know, the sun, the cameras can't handle the skin on the sun as well as when you shoot backlit, eyes are more open, colors. I just think it's what you should be doing when you're shooting sports outside.
Yeah. Yeah, and I wanted this one to be my first action shot because one of the things I try to really focus on is a lot of photographers I talk to, they try to focus on the peak action. I try to always find the peak emotion.
Yeah.
And so I felt like this was a good one to kick us off into some live action. I wish I would have got the guy on the right's elbow, but unfortunately I didn't get it.
No, it doesn't bother me that much. I think it's strong enough that it draws you into where you should be looking. So that's great.
Yeah.
I think why the elbow, go back for 1 second. I
Oh,
think why
yeah.
the elbow doesn't bother as much is because you don't really see his face as much. So right,
Yeah.
so he's already disembodied it a little bit, and you have 4 faces in here where you can see eyes at least for the most part.
Right.
And so you're kind of more contained in there. Where this gentleman on the right, he's a little phantom.
Well,
Yeah.
and they're
Oh,
wearing
wait.
camo hats, so they disappear anyway.
Oh wait, I didn't see those.
You didn't see their heads. You could, I mean, with that elbow, you could even crop in on the right a little bit more, and it wouldn't change the photo at all. You'd just get a little bit tighter drop.
Yeah. Good stuff. I wish we had more outdoor pools here, but we would never be able to use them.
Or any outdoor pools.
Any outdoor pools, yeah.
Yeah, so this one is actually a BYU swimmer when I photographed for you guys down here in Arizona. This is the reason I picked this image is the composition of showing depth. I liked the patterns, right? One of the things that I've started to kind of look at when I've started shooting, researching how to shoot skateboarding is skateboarding's interactions with the landscape around them. And so I went back through my images and kind of was like, all right, what kind of images do I have that show the kind of where the athlete does their thing and how they interact with it. So that was the reason I chose this image.
So one of the design principles, there's repetition, right? And then the break in the repetition. So you got lane, 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 swimmer, lane, lane. That's one of the kind of things that one of these things is not like the other. The swimmer is breaking that pattern a little bit. So small design principle, good use of it.
Thank you.
Yep, I agree. That's probably my favorite thing is the composition of it, the repetition of it. And with swimming, you know, knowing which side to be on, which stroke it is, and then what moment to get. So I think this is that moment. My only feedback would be where the sun is.
Okay.
For me, this one's really difficult because the light's really, really flat. And so you're not getting a lot of shape, and it kind of takes the image dynamics. I don't know if that's the right word I'm looking for, but it makes it a little bit more boring for me because the light is flat.
So like going back to your baseball image with that water being thrown, being backlit, imagine the same thing.
With
You're on
those
the
flashes.
other side of the pool. Your water droplets are going to get a little more specular highlights, are going to be a little bit more jewelly, like diamonds and stuff like that. And then you'll get a nice edge light. Also, this is probably like I'm debating like looking where that shadow is. It's kind of hard because it looks like the sun is coming straight down on you.
Midday, right?
Yeah, it's right about midday, yeah.
Tough time to shoot.
Yes.
So tell them to like swim earlier or something.
Yeah, like right at sunrise.
Yeah,
That'd be great.
because that will happen. They always listen to us, right?
They always consult photographers for that stuff.
Okay, so studio shoot with a hockey team.
Correct. Yeah. First image that I'm trying to show just kind of that basic cutout vibe, right? Like this could be used as itself, right, on the background as a Instagram post, but it can also be cut out really easily, which I'm starting to see a lot more of on social medias for athletics, right? Like I went and looked at UConn's page and I looked at what they had been posting, and it was a lot of cutouts. So
Yeah.
Yep.
wanted to try to show that, but not so just boring, right? I didn't want them just standing there. So I went through all of those type of shoots and I picked one that had kind of the most emotion and fun to it to show how I have a good time with the athletes, right? Because that's such an important thing and something I actually kind of lack as a freelancer. I don't get the emotional connections with some of the athletes or even just those personal connections. So with the hockey team, I'm around them a little bit more, and so they were opening up a lot, and so I went with this one.
I think
Yeah.
that's what. Oh, sorry. I think that's one of the good strategies. Like, because it used to be everything would be shot in white, and it looked sterile, and it wouldn't look great. And I think a lot more universities are like, hey, with the AI masking and different things, it's way easier to cut things out nowadays. And so if we can make this image dual threat, one, that we can cut it out and use it for a graphic, or two, if it's good enough to stand alone by itself and be used, it's perfect kind of thing. So
So for the viewers, let me just explain the way it works. You usually get a team when you work at an athletic department or work with an athletic department. You get what we call a photo day, and it's basically the beginning of the season. You take the portraits, you take the team photo, and then you'll do like their marketing shoot, and you'll basically get that one time to shoot them for the whole year. So all of the social graphics, all of the posts, everything's going to come from that one day or the 2 days, whatever it is you do to shoot those. So graphic designers, as much as we love going outside and going on location, you get that great shot of, for example, your flag image at the beginning. There's only so many times they can use that image, right? Because it's the same image. But when you shoot in the studio and you're against a background that can be cut out, they can cut it out and they can put it on different backgrounds. They can do so many more things with those images. So they really want to have those images because they can maximize their usage. So just like Aaron said, having still some personality in the studio, you could use it as is, or you could cut it out. That's key. That's really an important thing. So, and I think this is a great example of that. Great beauty lighting. You did a great job of retouching the faces. This is something that, these female athletes would look at and say, I want that. That's a fun shot. I want to be a part of that.
So as you probably noticed or will notice too, a lot of it is the post-processing part. Um, I agree again with Jaren. Very well lit, great moment. A couple of things. One, I would just clean up like the flyaways on the hair, especially the blonde against the dark background. Yep. And then a little bit on the mirror as well, on the back of the mirror. And then for me, edge tension's really hard. So her hand being so close to the edge of the frame, just expanding that frame, give it a little bit more breathing room so it looks more intentional and not like an accidental crop too tight.
Got it.
Nate, why don't you explain edge tension a little bit more?
So edge tension, a lot of times we take pictures and we're not paying attention to the edges of the frame, whether it's in post-processing with cropping or when we're taking them. And so sometimes things will get really close to the edge of the frame and it's just really uncomfortable. We may not even know why we're feeling uncomfortable or why something doesn't sit right unless we're aware of what's happening. So for me, when there's something with edge tension, it's like it's got to go one way or the other. You either need to crop in on the hand, and I don't know if that would be the case with this, but or like with the back arm or elbow of the baseball player, right? It needs to either be all in or or out. But the crop, that's maybe a bad example. The crop on that one I feel like worked because there was no edge tension. It was cropped in enough that there was enough out that that tension wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so with this, because the edge of your frame is so close to her hand, there's just a lot of tension there. And the closer that gets, that tension gets even worse.
yeah,
Yeah.
So
you
this has
never
a
want to
little
get
bit of breathing room, but
So more like the space on this right side is what you're
yeah,
looking for?
yeah, either that or a little more.
And then even tangents, like if something's barely touching something or two things are
Yeah.
like pointing right at each other, it either, like you said, it needs the cross or it needs to be have the space.
Good.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Dusty.
Yeah. This was just a unique moment, unique capture. High school fields aren't as maintained, obviously, or compacted down. So we got some really good dust kicking up in the air, and he just was kind of carved out perfectly in it. So it was just a unique moment.
And the clapping of the hands and the dust in there, like great. And backlit. This wouldn't
Yeah.
work as well if it was front lit.
Yep.
One of my favorite things on the backlit, especially on helmets, is when you get that little star that just pokes on it, kind of sometimes a little bit, a little high specular highlight. So that's cool. That's way cool. Yeah, the high school fields that throw up more dust. I think I would lay heavier into that a little bit. Maybe either adding some more clarity into that dust so we can get more texture in it.
So you're
Or
talking like right here.
well, I even the whole image
Just in
is
general.
more contrast, maybe dehaze or something, not to the character itself. And then what's really cool is that shaft of light, the shadow that's coming off of that player. Man, you could accentuate that and burn that down a little bit,
Yeah.
and all of a sudden he's like the chosen person to slide in the dirt. Just kidding.
The chosen person to slide in the dirt.
So Patrick, do you shoot in RAW?
Um, I shoot both. So I
Yeah.
shoot raw JPEG. So when I'm sending FTP, I can send quicker with my JPEGs.
Uh-huh.
But I'll go back if I have like a really stellar one. I like to have the raw.
This is a great example of why you'd want the RAW, because we're talking about some stuff where you're gonna have to push the image a bit, but a RAW file, it can handle it, you know. And I would love to see this darkened down more to accentuate that, make that pop more. And like they're saying, you could just select out the player and then just increase contrast in everything else. But yeah, I think there's some fun image. I mean, love the atmosphere.
Yeah, my only other thought, and I don't know, I'd like to see it because I'm not sure. Cropping in on the right a little bit, so it puts them not necessarily all the way in the third, but more in the third.
In the
I'm
third.
just debating it if I like them in the center. As a rule of thumb, it's typically better for people to be looking into the frame than out of the frame, and I feel like they're just past the center mark looking out of the frame. And so I feel like bringing that right side in just a little bit more. I mean, you can constrain the proportions of the crop or not. I'd come up from the bottom and the right just to move them, shift them into the frame to the right a little bit.
See, and I'll
That'd
disagree.
be one to be curious, play around with.
I would love to, I actually like them being centered, and maybe because of this shape that's created here in the center, kind of drawing attention. I would come in a little bit and crop, but I wouldn't go all the way to a third, but that's just me.
Yeah, I wouldn't go all the way to the third either, but
Okay, it's time to arm wrestle. Jaren and Nate will now arm wrestle.
And Nate would win every single day.
yeah, I don't know about that.
His climbing arms. Tell us about this one, Patrick.
All right. This one's actually on a field, but I intentionally shot it with a low angle when I was kind of following him around, and he stopped in the perfect spot during the national anthem because I wanted a dark background. So the U of A has really dark background, black walls. And I knew I wanted to do this image really contrasty, dark and white, because the sun was just beating on us that day. So I wanted to do something like that, and so I got down low, shot it with the black background or with the dark blue background. But this is my first one where I went to a little more arty, right? I wanted to show some more artistic skills with this one. I've actually got this one printed up on acrylic for my dad, and because I played catcher growing up. And so just a little bit of a different flair to the live action, right? Using the live action to create art is one of the things I'm interested in as well.
I think this is good using that directional light to your advantage, right? Light's low, it's coming in hard, they're facing into the light a little bit. You have good contrast on this image. Finding that dark background so they can pop out on top of things. There's nothing in the background that's getting hits of light that are distracting you from this, so you're very isolated on this person. I'm curious what the catcher's uniform's original colors were outside of black and white.
Well, it's Kansas, so it's similar to our blue.
So it's probably blue, not red.
Yeah, they were wearing blue that day.
Blue. Hmm.
So another, well, one thought and then one other question. One, the thought is, man, this is one of the reasons why it's so important to pay attention to light, where it's coming from, and then where your subjects are, because this is one of those examples where you can really use natural light if you understand it to your advantage. Like this could, you could look at this and be like, oh, that was shot in studio. It's a really, really nice shot. My question is, and there's no right or wrong answer, it's just out of curiosity. Why did you change it black and white?
Um, yeah, I always try to push myself to get some images that I like in black and white on the field, right? So I'll usually during the pregame, I actually put a filter on the camera, so I'm actually seeing it in black and white and not, in color and trying to change to black and white. So it was just my desire to get black and white images because I really like the way they can display emotion. Sometimes I feel like color can cause you to feel a feeling, but this one I wanted you to feel that his silence and his readiness for the game and his internal feelings. So I didn't want you to focus on the colors and the emotions that those colors might give you.
Yeah, no, I love that. So it was intentional. I think that's kind of where I was going with that. It's an intentional choice. I think with a lot of times we change photos to black and white just to change them to black and white. But here, what I'm hearing is you intentionally wanted the viewer to focus on the emotion of it and not the colors per se of the school or whatever. And so one thing that I think is super important is if color, so in all of our images, right, and our job in our post-processing and shooting is what do we want people to see? What do we want them to look at? And if there's anything that distracts us from seeing what we want people to see, how can we minimize it or eliminate that distraction? And I feel like what you were saying is the colors here were pulling, like distracting us, distracting you from seeing and feeling the seriousness and even the light, right? The contrast
Yeah.
there. And so turning it black and white, in my opinion, I think is a great a great choice. It was an intentional choice because it helps us focus right on him and that emotion. Where color could be distracting.
I think one of the tips for photographers into getting great light like this is being able to recognize light. One of my favorite photographers says when he finds this pocket of good light, you can't go tell the athlete, hey, go stand in here. But he'll stand guard on that spot, waiting for that moment to happen. And it's a gamble, right? Someone might not walk through that spot. Someone might not hit it, kind of thing. And you gotta like, man, I gotta go get this other stuff eventually, kind of things. And so finding those pockets of light, kind of thing, like, man, and just knowing where people move and stuff like that, positioning yourself to like, this person's going to come through this spot. So you can find these really great lighting opportunities. It's a gamble.
Yeah.
Like just
Well,
sitting
I mean-
there, but would you rather have 10 other images of just kind of your regular day-to-day stuff, or would you rather have this?
For example, I tried to do this the next week with TCU catcher, and just he wasn't standing in the right spot. It just the sun wasn't doing its thing, right? So I tried to sit there and find that light right there again, but they never walked into that. So I tried to do it in a different spot, recreate this image a second time, and it just didn't happen because of the positioning. So that's take advantage of the pockets of light when you see them. That's for sure.
Yeah, I feel like photography is the constant battle between getting something good and putting it away to get something better, right? And that's sometimes it pays off and sometimes it doesn't. And that's the beauty of it. That's what makes it fun. I love this image. I think that it's so great. It's funny. This is one of the few times where you don't see a face, but you can see emotion, right? And the color, the way that the jersey and the numbers just close in, everything else is kind of just monochromatic. I love this image. What do you guys think?
I love the negative space, and it's very like,
Yeah.
you go through this in the up in a museum kind of thing, just the simplicity of it and the you got this negative space and this break in the pattern again.
Yeah, very
Yeah.
minimalistic. Yeah.
And
I don't know if I have much feedback on this.
That's high praise from Nate Edwards right there.
Like even color palette, there's 3 colors in this,
Yeah.
right? Sometimes we get so many different colors and different things. And I find like some of my favorite artists and different things like that, they narrow down their color palette and their tones are down to like 3 tones kind of thing. And you got 3 tones here.
So this is the product of studying other photographers right here. For forever, I've just wanted to fill the frame, fill the frame, fill the frame. But I study my wife's photography a lot, and she uses negative space so beautifully that I have tried to incorporate that into my work. And so I always look for a spot where I can find some negative space, and this was just shouting shouting at me when I saw it. So.
Yeah, and I'd say that's one of the biggest weaknesses of my work is I'm always been kind of followed the Sports Illustrated tight is right philosophy, right? And I struggle to step back and show the negative space and use it to my advantage. So I love this image, and I think it's perfect where it is in the middle of your portfolio. I don't think it's the opener. I don't think it's the closer. I think in the middle, it's a great kind of just a way to show, yo, here's another thing you didn't see. Yeah, so excellent.
Go back to one more. So
Yeah.
what it speaks to me is like center filter, the isolation. Look how much space is this center filter space to cover. Like
That's
he
not even
has
all of it.
That's not even all of it. I mean, maybe that's the pressure he's feeling right there. It's like, man, I got this whole space for mine to like ball comes here. It's so much heat on my back. Maybe he's just stretching out his shoulders, but I like it the other way.
No, it's fun.
Or maybe he just missed the catch that just went over the fence and he could have robbed it.
Look at that. One image telling so many different stories. I love it.
And he's like, this guy's not even a baseball player. He's a kid walking by.
All right. Let's talk about the fencer. Can you Patrick, tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, this is just good studio work in my, I think it's good studio work in my studio down here. I've been wanting to shoot fencing a lot. I thought it was a really beautiful sport, but I wanted to do a portrait session with it. Found a gentleman. He came up here from Texas, and I was able to do some really cool stuff with him. The whole shoot was black and white. So every image we have is really dark and emotional and moody. So.
Patrick, when you're shooting in black and white, are you turning your camera to black and white so you can see that contrast in or out kind of thing?
Yeah, most of the time I do. Every once in a while I'll find one that I want to turn to black and white that I didn't, but most of the time I'm turning on that black and white filter so I can see it in camera.
I think one of the notes on that is like sometimes art directors seeing is believing sometimes. And so like if they're gonna end product's gonna be black and white, they like to see black and white. I think as a photographer sometimes you can, if you've done it enough, turning it just black and white, like, oh, I can see the color contrast there and where things would flatten out and different things like that and what it would look like black and white. But letting your art director see it in black and white, kind of seeing is believing for them.
And how different values of color interact with each other.
So one of the things I really like about this image is the symmetry, right? It's perfectly symmetrical. I think one of the hard things that I fall on is where's the rest of his body a little bit. So we get the sword, we get the mask, but this could almost be a personless thing for the most part. This could be sitting on a table. We do see a little bit of the hand, but I wish I just saw some peak of light hitting the shoulders somewhere, backlight or something like that, some separation.
Got it.
Yeah, and then I think if you had a backlight, you'd also see this sword continue up here. I would love to see that continue out of frame. So I would just say throw a rim up or something. That would be my main suggestion. But I love this pattern. I love the texture. You look at it and you feel that texture in your hands, right? And that I think black and white's the right call here.
So and going back to what I was talking about earlier, is there anything that's distracting? We just mentioned a couple of things that were like, oh, I wish that was there. I wish that was there. So one thing that we can do is try to minimize or eliminate that distraction. And so for me, one of the ways that you could do that is just crop in a little bit more. Bring it up from the bottom and from the top and just tighten it a little bit so you're not as distracted with, I can't see the
body.
I don't even, are they called swords with fencing? I don't even know. Like, this is my ignorance.
The pointy
right here. I'm
thing.
making a fool of myself to our tens of viewers on YouTube.
Our tens of years.
But yeah, I think that's one thing you can do is just crop in a little bit to help with that, especially with the negative space on the bottom and the darkness, and then I think that would help.
Yeah. Yeah. Gotta love mascots.
Yep. This is just pure. I want to show that I'm looking not just at the action on the field, right? I don't think I need a lot of that, but one of the things I feel like a lot of younger photographers, and myself included, was getting just sucked into what's going on in the field when there's so much going on around you. So.
Yeah, and this is the kind of shot that you get that marketing people love because they can use it a lot of different ways, and they, and when you see it, when you have a moment like this happen, you have to capture so many images as much as you can and in as much variety as you can because they are so visual, they're so marketable. So, yeah, guys, any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's a great moment, great capture. I mean, this is one of those things that no matter where you are, you have to get. But I think being up high for this, where it's just a sea of kids, there's no other distractions of environment or anything, and fun moment. I think one thing that would, or a couple things that would help this image. I feel like it's a little dark and muddy. So I think brightening it a little bit and maybe a little bit more vibrance to make those colors pop more, make those reds pop a little more. And even I would add, as you brighten it up, I'd add a slight vignette to just kind of help your eye stay contained right on the mascot instead of wandering around. Because right now, my eye, I'm looking at the mascot because I know that's what you want me to see, but then I'm wandering around and I'm looking at everything else. And so if you can subtly edit that in a way where I'm just focused there and my eye isn't wanting to pull away from what you're wanting me to see, I think it really, really help this photo.
I would say slightly tighter crop, maybe like a finger or two width off the edge. Like I would get rid of the row of people on the right side of the frame. Probably like one person in. I don't think they help the image too much. And I think getting that barely that much tighter. There's a lot of other faces that are doing great things in here.
Yeah, and I'll just say that my experience as a photographer, I've been a sports photographer for 26, 7 years. When you're on the field with a wide angle getting this, it used to be you got people holding up their finger number one, right? And now all you get is phones in your way. And sometimes that makes it really hard to capture the image because there's just a dozen phones in front of your camera. Trying to get the shot of whoever's being carried. And that's sports. That's just how it is, right? Nothing's going to change about that. Hockey.
From the catwalk. So wanted to show that I'm willing to go on some different angles and do some different things. I unfortunately don't have a remote setup to set up there yet, which will, maybe one day I'll have that. But this is just to show another angle. And yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Love seeing different perspectives. Always that again, that visual variety. It's good to show from above, from below, from the side, what basically people don't see from the stands, just a variety of different ways. We don't have a hockey team, so we're not really experts in hockey.
Yeah.
I used to play roller hockey all the time when I was a kid, so I mean, it's about all I have in experience with hockey.
I guess my only suggestion would be I wish I could see the puck. I'm assuming this is a stop, right?
It's in his glove.
I just wish I could see that more, or like it's almost to come into the glove.
Okay.
But again, that's just fine, kind of being nitpicky.
I think you could push slight contrast and a little saturation into the blues and reds just to make it a little bit more vibrant in a way. So it's just a little bit more poppy.
Are you talking like the on the ice here?
On the ice and the uniform itself, just slightly. I wouldn't go like crazy, just a little bit more.
A little bit. Okay.
Just barely, just to push those school colors a little bit stronger.
Is this image cropped in or at all, or is this pretty? close to the
I
camera?
think this is pretty close because I think I'm shooting with my 300 here. Actually, I do think I cropped in just a little bit. Yeah.
Because my only other thoughts are, if you framed your shot. I mean, I've never shot hockey, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's like baseball. It's like I already got all these people, and now I just need to get like the goalie saving something, or if you're following action and then you get this. But my thoughts are, you have a beautiful symmetrical shot here that's cropped unsymmetrically, or that's not shot symmetrically. So maybe frame your shot and then hold it there and then wait for something to happen in that frame.
Got it.
Because then you're not trying to take an action photo and follow it into the symmetry. You're setting your scene and then you're waiting for something to happen in that scene.
So Nate, are you saying like show the full goalie box and then he's on the third and he's breaking that pattern?
Yeah. So yeah, it would be a little wider and framed a little bit further to the right. So you're setting up that scene so it is symmetrical.
So
So-
he's
And then he would be in the bottom left third.
he's fitting into a
5,
grid.
6 to my right.
Yeah, and facing in.
So Patrick, can you even get centered and do that? Be centered in the center of the goal?
Yeah, some arenas you
I
can.
can't remember, but I mean, if I would have took some steps to my right on the catwalk, yeah, I probably could have. I just can't remember where I was, like the catwalk system up there.
And like I say, like you said, like this is be a great remote shot because you could set it dead center and then the whole game it could just go off and you could pick the moments. Because I do love like Nate's mentioning, you have almost visual symmetry, right? And if you just a little bit over that visual symmetry would be pretty cool.
Got it.
So we have the same kind of philosophy with the key in basketball when we're shooting our remotes from above. So very nice. Okay. Hey, all I got to say, it's emotion, right? This is what sports is about. It's about emotion.
Yes. Yep. That's all for this image. You know, just a great emotional moment. The captain on the right there, her eyes just make this shot for me. The way she's just so happy and yeah, just an emotional moment that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I'd say the captain makes it 110%. More than any other girl in the image, that captain makes it.
Yep, I agree.
This is one of those instances where you don't need to see the athlete, right? Because the entourage tells the story.
They're the mirror of what's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You guys have any suggestions for how we could improve it?
I'd be curious to see if you cropped it in even tighter, so you're just focusing on the girls in the helmets around.
So right here.
Crop out,
Got
yeah, the people on the left. That way, you're focusing right in on the most important part of the image, and then you're not distracted by like it's not that those people on the left are distracting, but they're not really, in my opinion, they're not contributing either.
It would be interesting, but the way you're saying it, that would pit it in almost like a balance. She's like the teater-totter of
Well-
this emotion too. I like it.
And then the captain would be on the third. So
Yeah.
that would be a good suggestion to see what it looks like, just to compare the two. It's really good. Good.
And this was you were shooting for the Big 12 for that one?
Yeah, I was shooting for Utah. Yep.
Okay.
Great. All right. Always need an overall.
Yep.
And I love those big flags. They're a lot of fun.
Yep. Fiesta Bowl. So, you know, big moment. Just a scene setter shot. Love the patterns in the roof, right? I really wish that third firework would have went off on the right. but
Yeah.
can't
Come
do
on, man.
it.
If it makes you feel any better, I didn't even notice it first,
All
but
right.
now I can't unsee it.
Yeah, yeah.
Maybe there's a hidden meaning of 332. I don't know. Any suggestions, guys?
So I have a question. Did you know the fireworks were going to go off?
No, I did not. This was my first bowl game that I got to shoot.
Okay.
So I was just positioned up there because all the Getty Image staffers were down on the field and they want, you know, obviously wanted to get different angles. So they asked me to go up and so I just rolled with what the team said to do.
Great. It's a great overall shot. I think an important photo for the bowl game there. One thing is, are you able to be dead center, or is there something in your way?
The TV cameras to my right. Yeah.
TV.
Cameras are always in the way.
Always the problem.
I think I have one thing, and I can't tell if it's just me because I'm like a little cross-eyed a little bit sometimes. I don't know if the geometry of the stadium is because there are some leading lines and different things, but I feel like it's tilting just a little bit. And I would just go into the camera raw. There's a in the crop tool, the crop tab. There's a geometry slider where you can draw like your horizontal and vertical lines, and it will align things a little bit. I feel like the field is slightly tilting to the right, but that could be my cross-eyed. I don't know.
Well, and I think it's because he has to take like a step left of the camera.
Yeah.
Up
Yeah,
at the top with the rafters, you can see where it doesn't line up exactly going straight down.
yeah, I see what you're saying. I think
But
just
I mean, with a TV camera there's nothing you can really do about that.
I think even correcting the horizontals and faking it in the
Yeah.
camera raw would help give me that like believe that I'm not cross-eyed. It's just a personal thing that I
So guys,
not too bad.
which horizontal line would you want to be straightened though? Because you can't like.
So
Are you
so
talking like here?
You
I'd
can
go
pick 2
off
points.
I would go off the bottom field line with the white baseline for the
Oh, okay. Okay.
I'd use that as my horizontal.
And
And
then
then the hard, because the dome kind of curves, but you could do the same point on either side of the dome where like one lattice meets the other lattice. And so it kind of make it symmetrical. Because
Yeah.
that's a hard part. The dome curves. Those aren't straight lines up there.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Good feedback. All right.
I guess my last feedback, you can stay on this one,
Oh,
is in anticipation of that for next time. Now, like if that happens again, the possibility of fireworks, just slow shutter speed to try to get more.
yeah.
The
I mean,
fingers and the
multiple
explosion.
fireworks to get more of the streams. Maybe if there's any, I don't know if they have explosion in there, if it's just the little flares but just something like as you're shooting again, just the forethought, pre-planning. Okay, is this something that's going to happen? Where can I best position myself for this, camera setting wise, everything? But
Perfect.
I wonder what a star filter would have done on it.
Yeah. Star filter would be
that'd
interesting.
been cool.
That's
Yeah, I
that's
haven't
something
never
to-
played with filters yet. That's something that I've learned from Aaron's videos lately. I want to start getting and playing with.
You got to be careful because they're gimmicks.
Yep. Yeah, they're right. They're used the right amount of time. They're great, and if you use them too much, that's when it becomes a crutch. So yeah, Aaron is our filter guy. So all right,
He's
I
our
love this
image.
image. Playing with reflections.
I'm in between the benches here. This is I always carry a little Sony ZV-1 that is always set to black and white. And it allows me so I usually have my, 2 bigger cameras, and then I have this little pocket camera when I want to get really close into athletes like personal space, because the camera is so small that they barely notice it, right? And that allows you to get those moments where sometimes they don't even know you're taking a photo. So I always have this little Sony ZV-1 in my pocket, always set to black and white. And so when I see something interesting like this reflection, I bust it out. And it also gives me a little bit of extra range without having to flip a new lens on my camera.
Yeah.
So,
Well, I like it. I wonder if I'd crop some of this top out though.
okay.
I think
Yeah,
to
right
me,
now-
what's interesting is right here, and I don't know that this or that air vent is helping me get there.
Yeah, composition wise, right now his face is dead center, so I think bringing that crop down would help.
Yeah, because then you'd have the interaction between his face and then these guys on the ice. It would draw more attention to that.
Yeah, I think I'd crop it right below that air
Dot.
vent to that first star, because you still get that kind of that star
Got it.
Yeah, so keep
effect-ish.
this in
Yeah, halfway. I'd say go halfway through that.
halfway through that.
So because you'd get the 1, 2, 3, 4 in a pattern down the top of his head, kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Got it.
Good.
That's really cool though. Seeing the double reflection.
Yeah.
You get 2 stories in one.
This is, again, just trying to show my ability to have technical skills. This is stroboscopic photography, so all done in one frame using flashes on. So wanted
So
to
did
try to
you-
show this off. You can kind of see we had a little lingering ambient light, 'cause you
Yeah.
can see the boxing ink in through him. So I might, want to redo this image now that I've kind of come a little more technically sound with it. But again, just wanted to put in the portfolio that I can handle different technical aspects of photography.
So is this your subject moving across the frame? Is this you panning across the frame, or is this you dollying the camera
Him
across the
moving
frame?
across the frame.
Yeah, you can kind of see the light gets stronger on the last image on the right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Strong, yeah, on both sides, right? On the rim light behind on the left,
Yeah.
and then
So the
key
rim's
light.
stronger on this side, the key's stronger over here.
Correct. Yeah.
So what Aaron's saying is you could pan over, you know, while you're shooting, and it's hard, but
Or the other thing is you pitch your camera on a track or a tripod with wheels, and you move that camera across, and the subject stays in one spot. And that way your light power stays the same across each one of those.
Interesting. Okay.
so the other thing is I wish you had a light that was lighting his hair. Again, that separation light, the black hair against the black background. You just see a disembodied face.
Got it.
And I think that this rim here could be that. It just needs to be up here more, back up. I just need to see a little bit more of the outline of his body. Same thing. See how the shorts are blending into the black background?
Mhm.
Black on black is the hardest thing to do in studio, right? And that's why rims exist. It's to create draw shape around the athlete and separate that black from the background.
Yeah, one of the reasons it's hard is because look, the skin tone is getting the highlight because that's so much of a lighter value than black shorts.
Mm.
So to get the shorts to pump out, you got to pump that light up. But now your skin tones are having a hard time existing in that highlight.
So an old photographer trick is this: have them change the shorts out of black shorts.
Oh.
We're blue, we're red, because it does really make it pop more. Now, I do like the kind of the two, monochromatic kind of feel of it, but if that's, you either need to throw more light and get that separation happening, or if they threw different color shorts on, I mean, it changes it immediately. But you still have to deal with the issue of making sure that that head has a full shape to it, that there's a separation of the head from the background.
Got it.
But yeah, I think this would be a great one to like say redo and attack again.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
with that redoing too, right now I don't know what the peak photo is. Like I don't really know what moves he's doing, and I almost feel like if he was ending with a jab,
Okay.
because it's like glove up, glove up, glove up, glove down, glove up, glove up, and not much is changing there. So they're almost the same shot throughout, except for one. And I think having, I don't know, something more of a peak, whether it's like an uppercut or a jab or something like that, that you finish on, I think would show the move better.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, I definitely think you're heading in the right direction on this one, and I think it's worth doing again,
Perfect.
kind of thing, to show that technical ability, the stroboscopic kind of thing with it.
Good. Great action. What were you thinking when he leapt up, Patrick?
I mean, once I saw the shot, I was really excited because, this one may not be as emotional, but this is the peak action, right? And so always a exciting thing for the fans when you see somebody hurdle somebody. So, not, I guess as a fan of the sport, you can kind of feel that excitement, because it's the peak action of that frame. So,
Well, and he is an athlete. He was fun to watch this year.
yes, he was.
But yeah, I think the hard thing about this image is so often I have this happen and I cut the top of it off because I don't move up with the athlete or I'm too tight.
Mhm.
How much cropped in is this?
Just a little bit, not
Oh,
much at
so,
all.
so you had enough space. That's great because too often I have not enough space or I'm clipped in on him.
Mhm.
And that's good because you had enough space so you could rotate, you could crop and level things out if you had to.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, well, it's one of those peak action. I love football because there's plays that are memorable. Like, oh, that was second quarter when Conley leaped over that guy, kind of thing. There's a point in the game where everyone remembers that, and that's peak action football is my favorite just because of that. It's Conley, right? Number 7.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
So with this also, again, I'm such a cropper. I don't know. I don't know if that's good or bad. So composition wise, he's dead center. And this is something I'm like, I would love to see if it even works because I'm trying to like picture in my head like, will it work? I love the players in the background. The guy on the left who's getting cut out of frame, he needs to come out.
Cut him out of the frame.
But I'm wondering if you bring it in from the left and the bottom and bring your framing up, so you almost cut the guy number 7 from NAU off at the waist, or just
Oh,
below
it's
the
like
waist.
here.
So yeah, so it puts him more in the third leap, or no, and leaving number 11 in too. So
Okay.
just kind of bringing it in from the bottom left up. I think
Yeah.
I'm trying to see that frame. I think that frame fits a little bit better. Maybe like mid
Probably.
calf or something.
What do you guys think of a vertical crop?
Vertical.
I think Nate is wrong.
Okay.
I know we're gonna arm wrestle, I guess.
Well, we got to go lefties though. I think a vertical crop could be well too, to be honest.
It
Because I
could.
I
Then you
think
gotta cut
seeing
out, was it 88 or 98
I
split?
think having the reference to where numbers both sevens, but the NAU athlete touching the ground kind of shows the how high this hurdle was. It kind of tells a little bit more of the story, like how
Yeah.
much athleticism is there.
And that's what I worry about is if you crop out the grass, you lose a little bit of how amazing a feat this is, you know.
Yeah,
Um,
but if you crop out the grass, then you could think he was standing up.
yeah, that's true. I guess there's
Or he
I
could
guess
be
there's
laying
that.
or he could be laying on the ground.
So
Vice versa.
this is a good example of there's not one right answer. There's many right answers. It just depends on what's right for you. So
I'm pretty sure I'm right, but
And a lot of times, like with crops, I kind of sit there and I just move it around and be like, what fits, what doesn't.
Yeah. I think on this one, I cropped him and I was afraid of cutting off his feet, so I stopped the crop, which is why the guy on the left there is kind of still in it, because
Yeah.
I think I was thinking that same thing. I want my edge to be clean, but I didn't want to lose the number seven's feet attached to the ground, so.
well, and you don't need to maintain the aspect ratio. You can crop in just this side and leave everything else the way it is, and it's
I-
fine.
Got
a
it.
4x5 vertical could work.
Okay.
I'm thinking. I
Yeah,
don't
it's a
know.
little wide for it, but you know, depends how much if you have more room up here to play with. But yeah, there's a lot of ways to go with it. I think that's a good thing. You have options.
Yeah.
Yeah, good
That's,
peak
that,
action
hap-
shot.
that happens to me all the time in football where I'm like so used to going horizontal left and right following action. All of a sudden something goes up and you're on a monopod. You're like, it's good that you got that. That's cool.
Yep.
All right.
So
This
this is
fun
candy.
fun moment. Yeah, fun moment. And I think some of this has to be with me being a girl dad. So it just screamed my daughter to me and the fun of it. And so I again try to find those moments, not necessarily action, but I felt like this is a routine, a kind of a tradition of theirs, and I was seeing it over and over again. I was like, I gotta get it. And then she put her glove on her head. I really loved it. So that's why I included this one.
Yeah.
So I do love that you saw like one of the routines. You capture that. I'm sure they love doing that. This image. I'll be honest. I don't think this is a portfolio image.
Got it.
One of the things that I think I struggle with this is there's no interaction with eyes. And I think
There's no eyes. She's
eye
blinking.
contact is what makes that connection visually. And so there's not really much emotion in it. There's no eye contact, and you really have to look in and see what they're doing. So I think it's a great image, and I think it's one that they will love and appreciate. I just don't think it's a portfolio image.
Yeah, I think this is an image for these three girls. They would like it. It's a moment that they share. But I think from a outsider standpoint, we're not as familiar with this tradition that they do.
Right. Yep. And that brings you into that. I had the emotional moment, and I want the viewer may not know what's going on. Great you guys say this, because actually one of the photographers in the group said this was not a portfolio image as well. So
Yeah.
So
Well, and for me, I just see you could crop in just a little bit on this left side and get rid of that. You could crop in a little bit on this right side and get rid of this little dot right here. Just a little tiny thing. But I just don't have, this is definitely one I don't have a connection to it. I think nobody's eyes are visible. And I think that sometimes that's fine. But yeah, I'm not feeling it compared to your other images.
got it.
Okay.
So
Tell us about the
Arizona's-
shoot real quick.
Yep,
tell
just
us.
they were bound and determined to do a hockey photo shoot on the football field.
Okay.
And so we went over to the football stadium and did some shots on field, and it wasn't my favorite, but it's what the client wanted, right? So I did it, and then I convinced them to. I was like, let's just go find some stuff around the stadium that isn't football. And I saw this, and I thought it would be a really good banner shot for like their Facebook and Twitter and stuff like that. So.
Okay.
So yeah, a lot of time we run into client is asking for this. We don't think it's a great idea, but we have to make their idea great.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is this like a walkway up to the locker room or something, or?
Yeah, it's the Zona Zoo. It's like where their fans come in. So we have the ones on the football field, but I wanted to kind of go above and beyond. So I found this spot and thought it would be perfect for them because Zona Zoo is like a big thing for down here in the U of A. So
So I mean, for me, it's just the horizon is not, and I don't know, maybe the room isn't.
it's
Well,
slanting down. Yep.
so yeah, that's
Oh
a
yeah, you're
difficult.
right.
That's difficult, right? Because you see up here and it looks like it's fairly level,
Yep.
but
Exactly.
down here, and that's visually, it's kind of it is challenging. For me, these Photoshop out these
Okay.
and maybe a couple of these dots.
The squished ancient gun.
Yeah, yeah. Just clean that up a little bit, and I see a piece over here. Um, that's one thing that just jumps out at me.
Got it.
Yeah, I think another thing too is you lose the hockey stick.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I think either flip it around or
White
if you
tape
have it
it.
up, having some kind of separation light up there.
well, you could get the face of the stick so it's catching the light.
Yeah, yeah, you could do that too. And I
It-
think lighting wise, wrapping that light around just a little bit more so it's not so flat straight on, but creating a little bit more shadow, wrapping it around. And then right now, I wish I could see his face. I wish I could see his eyes because the mask is going right over his eye. And so just kind of even if he just tilts his head towards camera just slightly, I think would help that a lot.
or even
And then
helmet.
like emotion on his face, like if he's yelling or there's some kind of like intensity or emotion there, I think would take that image like one step up.
I don't even mind going helmet off.
Yeah,
Yeah, there you go.
you could leave it on the ground.
Mhm. That's a good point.
Okay, good.
Again, quiet moment. Always looking for those emotional moments. So really like this one and the separation he had from the background. Quarterback. We'll always need the quarterback images. So
Did you ever look up?
yeah. As he was standing up.
Oh,
So
because man, if he looked right at you, that would be so fun.
Yeah.
That's when you yell his name or throw something at him.
No.
Or you just psst, psst, and then you just
I don't agree with
yeah,
that.
you don't. I guess you don't want to interrupt anyone's prayer.
I mean, yeah, I
especially
guess. But it'd make a great picture.
I really like the branding on top of the pylon to go with everything. I mean, that's the home field pylon, but just the position of everything. I don't mind the centered frame. Also, man, the time of day.
Yeah, yeah.
How do you guys play in the middle of the day in Arizona?
hot.
It's hot enough there.
Yeah. Luckily, football's not the problem. It's baseball when it gets hot, man.
Yeah.
Well, last year when I did the regionals down here, I think it was like 110. I'm putting there's stuff over my camera to keep it from melting. Like,
Yeah, serious.
And that's a turf end zone too, right?
correct, the
Like
whole field turf. Yep.
whole
Ugh.
field turf. Yeah, so it's all beaded.
I've
Oh
shot
man.
there. It's hot.
So I was saying that the time of day a little bit. I feel like the Arizona red on the uniform does not look like necessarily Arizona red. I feel like it's a little flat, and I think in post you could play with that a little bit. You might have to go into the uniform itself just because some of those values are found in his face from the reflecting off of the field. So you'd want to isolate maybe the highlighted areas where that red is looking a little
Pads there. Yeah.
yeah, that's I would like it to match almost the color of the turf on the field a little bit more
Yeah.
deeper like that.
Yeah, it almost looks
Okay.
orange. And that's
But
hard. That's
that's
really hard.
yeah, because you're fighting that mid. Look where the shadows falling on behind him. It's so short. It's a short kind of thing. It's middle of the day.
Yeah.
I almost wish it was just a hair looser, and that's just me.
No, I think that's one of the things that I'm feeling on it too, is just the edge tension both at top and bottom.
Too tight. Got it.
And I really think the one thing that is hurting the image the most is time of day. I know you don't have control over that, but if you cover other games too,
Mhm.
and if this is a routine, that's something that you can plan
Yeah.
for a different game too.
Well, that's the thing about sports is it is everything happens again, right? They do the same routine every week, and I'll see like a moment like this, and I'll miss it. The next week, I'm standing there ready with the right lens, ready to go because I know it's going to happen again. They always follow routines, so that's really, and it's great that you caught this moment. You know, it's a great moment. Surfing.
Surfing, yeah. So wanted to show something a little different. But again, wanted to just demonstrate the negative space. I already had one image in there that did that, and I really like that look, so I wanted to kind of show that. But wanted to keep the motion of the, in the image itself, and so I was hoping that the ocean kind of gave that more emotional, or not that motion to the image while you're getting the emotion of him staring out at it. So.
I think your composition here is really well. I mean, you got your guy in the third. The water coming in is creating a diagonal across the space.
He's
You
in
do have
stride.
this line that comes in. I don't know if there was like I don't know, it looks like a truck or something came in. I don't know what that is, the two stripes, but that even leads your eye back in for the most part. The monochromatic of this, I wonder, like, it's already like I know it's not a sepia image. I wonder what this would look like black and white,
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
and you really push the white values
And you're
of the foam compared to the brown values, and pushing that contrast there, and then the surfboard being a little whiter too, so that pops with the sea foam.
Yeah.
I'm just curious, and you could do it, and it could be really subjective, and you're like, yeah, no, I really like the brown monochromatic. That's what I saw, and that's what was there.
Yeah, the reason I went with this kind of editing style is because it felt very California to me, right? Like
Mm.
the sun was warm, it was kind of early in the morning, right? So kind of wanted to give that yellow golden vibe a little bit too, but not overpower it with that, because I know that could be like a very sensitive line right there.
Yeah.
This is one that I feel like you could also crop panoramic. Again, here I go with cropping.
Oh, you could get rid of that bottom half. Yeah, you're right.
Because it's not contributing anything to the image.
You'll see a lot of my images are cropped 16 by 9 because I use mural displays in my studio. So all my murals, I get to have my digital art. So if I have, the hockey team in, I can put hockey images all over the walls. If I have a family in, I can put family photography on the walls. Also, when a photographer rents from us, I tell them to send me images, and then I put their images on there, so it feels more
Oh,
like the
nice.
studio. So
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, but don't constrain your portfolio to that unless it's intentional. That's what I would say,
yeah.
Yep.
because
Oh,
sometimes the image needs something different.
Yeah, I'm kind of one, and I know I've said this in other times before, but I almost don't like crop presets. I mean, I get why they were there originally, but today, one, I hate 8x10s. Like we don't shoot 4x5 anymore. Like
hey,
nobody's camera shoots that way. So let's
Instagram's
get rid
four
of
by five now, Nate, but you're not on Instagram.
let's get rid of. I know, and Instagram has ruined so much of photography and video for me that.
Like squares. Oh man, I remember
Um,
when Instagram was a
But a
square.
lot of times I like to just crop according to what the image demands. Because if it's going online or if it's going on social media or anything, like you don't need a 16 by 9 or 4 by 3 or whatever. Like there's nobody constraining you with those proportions, except for like what you're talking about, putting it on the monitors in your studio. But other than that, I don't know. And that's again, that's personal opinion. I know different people feel completely different about it.
Yeah. Okay.
One more thing on that. This image, I do love this image as a standalone image. It feels very disjointed, in my opinion, from the rest of the portfolio. You have a lot of college sports, and then out of nowhere, you have a surfer walking to the ocean. So it just feels really out of place compared to all the other images that you have in. If you had other, I don't know what you'd call them,
Lifestyle type images.
traditional sports or something that you also mixed in throughout the portfolio, I think it would fit a lot better.
Nate, I have a question. So I
Yes.
follow Patrick online, and so I've seen some other photos from his trip to California and things. And
Uh,
he has some maybe more high action surfer riding a wave.
Mhm.
Would you say that's like you, or you still think it's kind of disjointed because it's if you're going to apply for a university job, you kind of want to stay in university things, or with
that's a
the
good question.
or with the high action surfing considered like hey, they can capture action.
Yeah,
I
that's a good question.
Yeah,
I,
I think high action would fit probably a little bit better.
Okay.
But I mean I also love the image. So,
yeah.
but it is, yeah, if it's in the portfolio and you're trying to hit college athletics, yeah, a high action or choose something else.
Got it.
Okay, closer. Tell us
Yep.
about this shoot.
Yeah, last image. So the Tucson Sugar Skulls football team here. I have wanted to do football studio images forever and ever, but being in Tucson, the only football team is the U of A, and they have a great photographer team there. So I went out and found a different option and got these guys in. This is actually Marshawn Lynch's brother, and I don't know, just want to do something with the smoke right now. That's really hot. Everybody loves the smoke. Just bought a smoke genie, so wanted to try it out. Kept the branding, they're yellow together. So, and then I
Also,
like the pointing too. I felt like it was a cool, like I did that on purpose to end it, so it was like pointing directly at the
Yeah.
viewer. Like, all right, now what are you gonna make your choice, right? Like, so
Choose me.
choose
Great
me
closer.
exactly,
I
right?
I always love all these minor leagues, amateur leagues because they can have fun with their mascots. So the Sugar Skulls, you like, that's a cool mascot.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I do want to jump in real quick and say this is a great example of shooting black on black,
Yeah.
but because of your rims, that's exactly why we shoot with a rim. Is you're separating him from the background. You can look all the way around him and you see a complete separation. That's so well done. A little bit of edge tension here again on the hand,
Okay.
but I love the image, and I think this is absolutely where it belongs.
I think I have one thing to make it better outside the edge tension. So in the face mask, I think there's enough values in there when the golds and different things. They either bring up that brightness and contrast and saturation. I kind of wish the yellows in the face mask were just as bright as the yellows in the number 5 kind of thing. That way it draws a little bit more attention to the face.
Okay.
Faces are important, or the head at least. And colored face masks are kind of like they're a shiny thing, and people like shiny things. It's cool in that everyone wishes they could have a colored face mask in high school, but they're not allowed to. Sugar Skulls can.
Yep, yep. This image, when I was doing this shoot, I was actually thinking about University of Utah. I watched a video where University of Utah did a shoot when they were building their new facilities, and the
Yeah,
photographer,
Kevin Winsler,
yep,
Yep.
he
great guy.
did a shoot with the baby powder or something. But it was about the University of Utah football program. So the player, had the mask. That image can last on that wall, whether it's him there or 10 years away, right? And so I was trying to focus more on the branding of the Sugar Skulls, an image they can use even when he may not be a player there anymore.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that happens a lot of times at universities where we'll bring in a former athlete or model just to come get all these marketing shots, and they're not even a player on the team.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
So
That's interesting.
yeah, so like
Especially
when I
with
was
NIL stuff too.
back pre-COVID when I was at Mississippi State, we brought in a former track athlete, and he was the football player on the moving truck
Huh.
for the kind of thing.
The
Not even on the
equipment
team.
I would have
The
never
equipment
guessed that.
Yeah, so
Yeah, well, and if you think about it, you can use them for years and years because it's not tied to a specific athlete.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's just
Yeah.
a generic person.
So yeah, I would say get rid of that tension at the fingers, make that shiny face mask beautiful, and then you're golden on this, or should I say?
And then
Yeah.
I would say shifting your yellow smoke just a little bit more to match the gold on the uniform.
Get rid of the green a little bit.
Yeah.
Ooh, small. Okay, sorry. I got one more thing.
Nope,
Just
sorry, time's up.
oh no. Are the you can see the gridded softbox in the front of the helmet.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
right here.
Some
Yep.
people would fight me on this that say, "Hey, I like having the highlight in it because it shows that the helmet's shiny." I say just get rid of it.
Okay.
I'm okay with the highlight. I don't love seeing grid lines though. That's one of those things that's just a personal preference. And this one it's minimal, but I could go either way on it. So, but yeah, great image. Okay, sorry, that was a little bit more in depth than I thought we were. There's a little bit longer video than we were planning on making, but a really solid portfolio. I think, especially for somebody that's only been doing it for 6 years, you got a
Yeah,
lot of variety,
that's
a lot
amazing.
of great skills that you're showcasing in your portfolio. So now we're going to answer the question: what is the worst image? The one image that we say you need to take out, and I'm going to let Nate go first.
That one that your mouse is on.
Which one?
Oh, no, definitely not the first one. Oh, wait, that's my mouse.
Oh,
Yeah,
Never
your
mind.
mouse is not seen by anybody but you.
I thought it was your mouse. All right. I think for me, I think it would be the swimmer.
This one right here.
Yep.
Okay. And
But I
Aaron.
think it's one that I'd love to see you redo it time of day with or I mean, even if you can't control the time of day, just putting yourself in the best position to get the light. But I love the framing of that shot. I think it's just time of days that's killing you.
Yeah,
gotcha. Well, I'm
I
shooting
think
swimming tomorrow, so
There you
There
go.
you go.
I think part of the like impressiveness of this is kind of a standard swimming shot that you can see a lot, and you can go every swim meet and get that shot kind of thing, and so it doesn't show like the unique vision or stretch that someone else has. Like I could get that a lot. Let's so I agree with that on that one. The other one we've already mentioned it was the
yeah,
Utah softball girls together.
Yeah, and this would be the one I would pull.
Yeah.
I just don't think it fits with the rest of everything else you're going with.
And then the other one we talked about it again, the surfer. I'm considering because I've seen it and I know it's there. The high action riding the wave surfer water. It's just a little bit more eye candy there. But this image is solid. It's one of these things that's not like the other, and it's too much not like the other inside of your portfolio
got it.
kind of thing. So
Well,
like
and if you're trying to show negative space, like you have this image, you're not going to do better than that.
Got it.
You have this beautiful image. This I think fits in your portfolio so nice. And again, I think it's a great anchor for the center of your portfolio.
so that being said, like that could be in a different portfolio. You can have multiple portfolios for different things that you do, kind
Yeah.
of thing. So that could live somewhere else. That's portfolio worthy, just not in this one.
Got
Okay.
it.
Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, guys, thanks for your feedback. Any questions, Patrick, before we finish up here?
No, I appreciate it. Took, yeah, that was wonderful, man. Got some great feedback. Some things I didn't see, that you guys saw. And I'll definitely make some adjustments and send back over for you guys to see if the changes I've made. So,
Hey,
Well,
can I add something too? Pat, I wanna make an observation for everyone watching. Patrick is still alive, right? Portfolio reviews don't kill you. Like it's okay to get feedback, not just with like photos, but life in general. Like we want to get better. Like Patrick, I mean, I think it's awesome that you reached out and that you're like seeking, like, give me feedback. I want to know.
yeah.
Because if we really want to improve in anything in life and we're not getting feedback, like it's really difficult to improve.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to be where you guys are at. So what's the best thing to do is to learn and get feedback on how I can become that, right? So I think that's an important part of life. I tell people that all the time. Find the people who you want to be like and connect with them. So
yeah. Well, I want to give you a shout out. Everybody go follow Patrick here. And he's got some great work on his Instagram and he's sharing it. And
Oh, and some
well,
BYU stuff in there too. I like that.
yeah, well, this is
From
from
the
him.
trip.
This is from his visit over here. And I loved what you're messaging about, going out and looking at getting a break, going on, you basically did a vacation where you drove around and saw different things and came and visited us and did some other visual things. I think that's awesome.
So yeah, let's look at that surf photo real quick.
There's the surfer photo.
Go look at it.
Oh yeah. I mean, come on, man. I agree.
All right.
Yeah. I will say a little edge tension at the bottom, but that's a super strong image.
But Nate says that about every image in existence. So
That's true.
Awesome. Yeah,
Even
that
my
one in
own.
the
Even
top,
my
the top
own.
right is another one I wanted to possibly get in there.
Yeah. I love the branding of that one. I have seen that
yeah,
one before.
that's a great option too. I'd put this one over the softball image, you know.
Awesome.
Yeah, for sure.
So great stuff.
Awesome.
Well,
Thank you guys
thanks again
so
for
much.
joining us today, and we'll see you next time on the channel.